Avengers have gotten a lot of attention in recent times, all because of the feature films. In truth, before the first film came out, the sales of the Avengers comics had been poor, and though they had been the main superhero team of the Marvel Universe since its creation in the 1960s, not much new innovative writing or stories had come out of the lineup since the 1980s. Added to this, modern Marvel writers have connected other heroes, villains, or supporting characters who have not traditionally been associated to the team because of the films and the renewed interest in Avengers and of the related Avengers topics in general. Due to the relationship of the Marvel movie universe, chances are you will never see these 5 villains or groups in Avengers films, from the most likely choice and why to the least likely choice and why. Number 5. Baron Zemo. In Civil War, Helmut Zemo's origin was completely redone to connect it to what had happened in Age of Ultron. If Marvel had kept Zemo's original origin, it would have had him closer to the Hydra and the Red Skull. A good plot idea would have had Zemo observing the Avengers and seeing the ideological conflict between Iron Man and Captain America. He would have used the infighting between members of the Avengers to possibly look for evidence to locate the Red Skull, or revive him if he had indeed died during the first Avenger. A secondary plot would have had him reassemble the insider pieces of Hydra within the American government that had been destroyed in Winter Soldier. A nice twist would have been that Zemo is actually the Hydra agent that shot Bucky out of the train in the first Avenger and killed him before he was revived as the Winter Soldier. A final battle could be where Bucky kills Zemo for all the torture that he had to endure as the brainwashed Hydra mercenary. Number 4. The Masters of Evil. The Masters of Evil were a supervillain team led by Baron Zemo, although the team had different incarnations of it and members within it was seen as a countering balance to the Avengers itself. Not having the history of the comics, within the movie universe it might be too long and extensive to introduce members from the comics, and it might be more logical to have a possible Masters team comprised of former Hydra operatives as well as secondary characters from other Marvel movies to stand together against the Avengers, possibly led by Zemo or another established movie villain. Number 3. The Wrecking Crew. Within the comics, the Wrecking Crew is actually a fan favorite because of the concept of men down on their luck and banding together as friends who ultimately gain superpowers and use the abilities for their own gain, had a broad appeal to readers when they were introduced, though to the versatility of the crew they could have been introduced wholly or in part through the Hulk or Thor movies. A plot idea would have them as a hired force on call from another villain while the Wrecking Crew manages to hold their own against the Avengers. Number 2. The Kree or Skrulls, or both. The Kree-Skrull War is considered one of the best Avengers stories ever written, and though it would be an interesting plot angle to see them try to mediate and later fight in or against the war between the Kree and Skrull empires. Though the Kree are hinted at already in the Marvel movie universe, the Skrulls have not been mentioned due to the movie rights of the Fantastic Four. Though the Kree and Skrull issue may not be mentioned in future Avengers movies, the real reason why is because of legal issues. And if they are mentioned, it might not be to the original extent of the comic version. Number 1. Kang the Conqueror. First introduced as an Avengers villain, Kang the Conqueror is actually a future descendant of Reed Richards and Susan Storm of the Fantastic Four. A villain of great power and intelligence, it's unlikely that we will ever see this character with the situation of the Fantastic Four movie rights. Even if Marvel Studios gets the film rights to the character, the solo Fantastic Four movies will have to go deep enough into the story for the circumstances for Kang's origins to be revealed, and then for him to become a villain of the Avengers as well. Even with all of this, there are even alternate versions of Kang himself, which can be quite confusing for movie watchers. Though the Avengers had villains, few were originally written specifically for the Avengers comic itself. Most were villains or groups that were foes of Avengers members, and rarely was a force against the Avengers so strong enough that they were able to repeatedly threaten the entire team and some or all of its members as a combined force. Do you agree with the villains and groups mentioned in this list? Would you have adapted others? How and why?